Missouri ran 3:13.87 indoors. And that's the only time listed for them for this year. Ole Miss in 6, Missouri in 7. There are 13 men's teams in the SEC, 14 women's teams, so not enough lanes on the track to handle just one race. Only 9 lanes on the track. So they use the international stagger for the 4x400 relay. First runners all the way in lanes, and then when they pass the baton, the outgoing runner remains in their lane through the first turn and then cuts to the pole on the backstretch.
And if you're a 400-meter hurdler or you're an 800-meter runner, running this 400 meters just feels great. You know you don't have to run another lap. You know you don't have to go over barriers. You can really open up your stride and go. There you see Cade Flatt just really opening it up, and he'll pass to Tiernan Corkin.
48.5 opening leg for Cade Flatt. Now they can break for the pole. For Missouri, that's Jason Ashford, who takes the lead now early on. But did he run too hard the first 200 meters to make up that gap?
You see that distance runner out in front of you, say, man, I'm going to beat this guy in a sprint. I'm going to go by him. I'm going to fly by him. But 800-meter strength sometimes come back and get you at the end.
So Missouri in the lead. Passing for the second time from Ashford to Christopher Conrad. And for the running Rebels, it'll be Corkin to Marcus Dropic. 48 flat for Jason Ashford.
Well, while the wind was swirling today, it has just settled into a beautiful evening. Hardly any wind at all, and I think we're going to see some really fast times in these heats with full team lineups.
But for the Lightning, it was within 8 miles and a 30-minute delay. This would have been a very well, perfectly timed meet. Final exchange, and Ole Miss closing the gap over Missouri rather nicely. For the Tigers, Zachary Charles on anchor, and for the running Rebels, Jacob Loff. Another 48-second carry for Missouri. So we're looking for something in the 3:12 neighborhood probably for Missouri. And now Ole Miss into the lead with the final 100 meters being run. They will establish the time to beat for section 2. 3:13.93, almost 3:14.
We saw Jacob Luff there with about 150 meters to go. He came up around the outside, and I'm sure somewhere in the back of his mind he's saying, Coach told me not to pass on the outside in the turn, get him on the straight, but he had the energy and blew right by him with decisiveness, and brings Ole Miss running Rebs home for the victory.
Ole Miss 3:13.94, Missouri 3:16. That's about averaging 49.3 per man for Missouri. All right, getting ready now for section 2, where we have 8 teams total because Arkansas is a scratch. They've won the team title by 1,000,000 points, so no reason to put their 400-meter runners through this. They've got lots to do over the next month with regionals in 2 weeks and the NCAA championships in less than 4 weeks. There's Elijah Godwin, who will run the leadoff for the Georgia Bulldogs. They will start in lane number 6. They're the collegiate leader. They ran 2:58.82 at the Texas Relays. A lot of that off their indoor fitness. but that included a 44.80 split by half-miler Will Sumner.
Well, there you see he's given the baton, and he's got a tape measure there, and he is measuring the distance from the front of the blocks all the way to the back. These athletes want to get their blocks set absolutely perfectly in the way they set them up each and every day, and the best way to do that is with a measuring tape. And so many young athletes out there want to measure it with their foot or their hand. The best way to do it is to get yourself a little sewing measuring strip, and then that way you can even put your own marks. You can line the distance, so he goes to distance from the start line where he puts his hands to the front of the blocks, and then he can measure the distance to each foot. There you see he's measuring now to that first foot. That way he can get it super close every time.
This process might take longer than the entire relay itself. With how many steps there just were to measure that out. And Dwight, you mentioned Will Sumner. He said after his 800 victory he expected to be back, and he is down there on the track, likely slated to run that anchor leg and prove to you that he's, not just a half miler.
Alabama will be outside of Georgia in lane 7. They've run 2:59.15 in that same race at the Texas Relays. That was setting their school record. So now a lot of schools under 3 minutes. It used to be a real rarity. There are the lane assignments. Auburn was moved into this Section 2 race, so that makes it a 9-team race, all lanes filled. Elijah Godwin has an Olympic bronze medal from running the preliminaries of the mixed 4x400 meter relay, the first time it was ever run at the Olympic Games. It's about time. Been running at the World Relay Championships for a while now. He was second in the Open 400 earlier this evening.
Well, and down in lane 3, LSU, that's Dorian Kamel who goes first for the LSU Tigers. Big work day for him, and then Sean Burrell, and they'll close with Ashton Hicks. But I think everybody expects to see a really good race between Georgia and Alabama, but don't count out the Gators.
Never in a 4x4. All right, same situation as in Section 1. It's an Olympic stagger. Outgoing runners, leadoff runners, all the way in lanes, pass the baton. Outgoing runner stays in their same lane all through the first turn, and then breaks for the pole on the back stretch.
Well, for Tennessee, you're going to see 3 400-meter hurdlers, and then Emmanuel Bynum, who we saw run really well in the 400-meter open. And Dwayne Ross says, hey, if you're going to build your team around an event group, I'm going to make it the hurdles, because that's an event that he was extremely good at. There you see Alabama running well on the outside.
Alabama with the early lead. You can see who passes the baton first. And it is Alabama, followed by Georgia. A&M on the outside. Matt Bowling for Georgia on the second leg, and he's taking it out hard. Bowling getting the pole for the Bulldogs, followed closely by Alabama. 45-3 for Godwin. 44-6, the opener for Chris Robinson.
Well, there you see Matthew Bowling up front. A lot of people have said he just hasn't run the fastest times in the 100 or the 200, but he's really been concentrating on his 400s. And when you run a 43-second leg in the 4x400 meters, something's got to give. Sometimes maybe you're not going to run a 10 flat or a 19-second 200. He's been running outstanding 400-meter runs this year.
Will Sumner for the Bulldogs on the third leg. And for Alabama, Tarsus Oregot. Oregot a little disappointing in the 200 meters, just didn't have it the last 50 meters. Let's see, and that is not Will Sumner, my mistake. Christopher Morales. Sumner is going to anchor for the Bulldogs.
So Emmanuel Bamidele, he goes 44-8 to keep the Florida Gators in here. And this is Jacory Patterson. Look at him make a move now in the white uniform. But Tarsus Oregot, he has run a 43 flat on a 4x400 meter leg this season for Alabama.
Oregot with a great third leg carry. Florida also right there. with Jacory Patterson. Here comes Will Sumner on the anchor, just like he did at Texas Relays. He dropped a 44.8 anchor, but the Bulldogs are back in third. And who's on the anchor for Florida? Ryan Willie, the winner of the 400, as predicted by this guy.
So 43.8 for Jacory Patterson on that carry for the Florida Gators. And here comes Ryan Willie.
Corday Long trying to hold off Ryan Willie. Will Sumner is well back for Georgia. And Willie goes out into lane 2. And he's just look at how much more smoothly and how much the frequency of his foot contacts are. He brings the Gators home for the SEC Conference and a new collegiate record under 258. 2:57.76. Wow.
A 43.7 for Ryan Willie on that last baton carry. 43.7.
Tom Lewis is now saying 43.3. I don't even know what to say.
I think it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Well, that's what most of the people in the stands are saying. Do we have 3 teams under 3 minutes?
Well, look at Ryan Willie. He just moves out into lane 2, and look how smooth he is. Look, no, his head is not moving around. His shoulders are staying very still. He's just picking them up and putting them down. Crosses the finish line, and that is how you run a 400 meters. He's just absolutely perfect in this relay.
Alabama, another school record, 258.01. They just missed going under 258. Georgia in third with 259.63. First time in history, 3 collegiate teams under 3 minutes. That's amazing. And Kentucky fourth at 3:02. I can't even do the math on what that is an average per man, but it is better than 44.5 average. That's what I have to say. John Anderson, I don't know if the electricity was down there like it is up here, but wow, what an amazing race.
Yeah, it's kind of goosebump electricity down here for sure. We're going to start with JeVaugn Powell just because he ran first. So he's the least winded of the Gators here. A new collegiate record. Congratulations. I don't know what Coach Holloway's going to say, but what do you say about 257 and change?
No, my training partners, they're really great. I had to just do my job and give it to them, and I was positive they were going to finish it off. And I know Coach Holloway has the team. He told us every day we're good enough to break the record, and that's what we came all here and did.
Okay. Everybody else, Emmanuel, he's down and out right now, so we're just going to let him have his piece. Ryan Willie is still trying to recover from that last leg, 43.3. So you're my man, Jacory. What do you got for me on your performance and the team's performance?
Hey, man, just want to get a stick around the track, put my teammates in the best position possible to bring home the dub, man. That's it.
I had this question because the team race is over, but I watched over here, and your teammates, these people were going cuckoo birds. What's it mean to hear them?
Couldn't do it without them, man. Gator Nation. It's a team thing, man. We all in this together, so I appreciate them for this.
It's a whole team thing, but I'm just going to get you the wide shot of the 4 guys that took care of business. 257, the new collegiate record in the 4x4.
So, John, I've done the math. It's 44.44 per man. But that man, Ryan Willie, the 400-meter champion, he ran 43.3. Amazing. Women are next.